असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। श्री कृष्णार्पणमस्तु। O Almighty, we offer our humble prayers and salutations. We seek your blessings, your grace, your mercy, your compassion, your love, your forgiveness, and the strength to understand this knowledge and make it a living reality in our lives. Please bless us. Our salutations and gratitude to the entire Guru Parampara. Om Tat Sat. We are on our Divine Discourse number 47, the 29th of May 2020. Sharvari Nam Samvatsar, Uttarayan, Grishma Rut, Jyesht Mas, Shukla Paksh, Saptami. And a Friday. Okay. A very warm welcome to all of you once again. So now we are on, yesterday we completed verse 27 of Karma Yoga, where basically Lord Krishna is telling us that I have created this world, the universe, the multiverses, the solar system, the planet Earth, that is this world. All this I have created, and especially the planet Earth, with three modes of material nature, which is everyone has those three natures: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And in that, in every human being, most of the functions are involuntary functions where the human being does not have any control on them other than fiddling with them. But only to a very limited area which are connected to his senses and mind, I have kept a challenge for the human beings. Now that I'm giving you such a big reward in terms of salvation compared to all the other species, now you humans, he says, have to prove that how you're going to control your mind, how you're going to control your senses, and how you're going to dedicate your life in the worship of. Even that also. I have, yes, given you some scope of Purushartha, where you can, after you have been given with a particular opportunity, how you can do it. I have given that Purushartha. That is where you are erring. Up till that stage, I am doing everything. Every opportunity, every person, every situation in life comes to you by the Prakriti and the Purusha, which is me and me alone. Now in this, what you are doing, you come with that ego aspect, aham, which is a part of your mind again, and you start saying, yes, I am doing this, I am eating this, I am giving this, I am experiencing this, I am hearing this, everywhere that I has come in between. Otherwise, it is independently, each and every organ in yourself is working, but you are not in a position to understand that. So to the rare few who come forward, who get the chance, privilege to listen to my words, he says, they get a chance to correct themselves. If you have not listened, then there is no question of you getting corrected at all. It's ruled out because you have basically not listened, isn't it? Then where and how will you get corrected? So here he speaks about that ego aspect. And yesterday I did mention to you all as to how and where these thoughts come, where the desires spring up, and how the objects of sensory pleasures attract the senses then gives the info to the mind, and in the mind it comes as a thought, and then a desire in the mind of the intellect, and eventually the action is performed. So here the Lord says, I don't mind. There are two sets of people, the ignorant and the illumined. The ignorant people, they think that they are doing every action, and they have to pay a price also for that. And that is that you come under the bondage of karmic rule, the karmic cycle. But however, if you offer that action as a worship unto me, or if you consider yourself that you are an instrument in the hands of God and you're working, then I not only release you from the karmic cycle and karmic bondage, but at the same time, I also ensure that the malinata, means the dirt in your mind which is there, and which is not allowing you to rise up to the reality or to the godly powers, I will also start cleansing them. See, there is a double-fold benefit over here. And in the subsequent verses, he gives us the technique, which I have just now told you, but we'll go into much more detail over there. Now, I was thinking whether I should go a little more detail about this ego or not. The reason is it's a little technical, but I think you all are intellectually strong enough to understand this. So I said, let me plunge into this today. Otherwise, I had my idea yesterday and I didn't venture into it because it should not be too heavy and confusing also at the same time. So I would have the disclaimer clause right in the beginning itself. Don't be disheartened if you do not understand. And if you can understand, nothing like it. About how the ego functions in a person. Let's take this up. And I hope and pray everybody understands. You all can ask me any number of times what this particular aspect is. I can explain to you all, not an issue. But this is the crux of the entire bondage of a human being, where ego is the factor which is in between God and the human. God plus ego equals man. Man, meaning a human, minus ego equals God. So both ways, it is only ego is in between a human and God, nothing else. Okay, now how does it work? We all know that any shiny object which is kept below the sun, it reflects. What does it reflect? It reflects the image of the sun. It could be, say you have a steel plate, or you have any other metal, or a glass, a mirror, anything which is shiny. The nature of a shiny object is to reflect. So we have understood this. What does it reflect? It reflects whatever is shining, it reflects that. Now, we as human beings, we have our minds. This mind can be compared to that shiny object. Let's say it's like a mirror. Anything falls on it, it immediately reflects. It shows that image. Okay? Now, here a question comes. We have consciousness all inside, all within our body. Entire body, that consciousness is completely enveloped. That is how you feel the awareness in the entire body, isn't it? So, this consciousness, when it hits the mind, now mind is not there in the entire body. Mind is not in your legs, or in your knees, or in your waist, or in your stomach. Mind is in the head. So when this consciousness, it hits the mind reflects awareness all throughout. And it has an image of the consciousness, which is like the sun. Assume that the consciousness within you is the sun, and the mind has an image of the sun. Now what happens with this image, which is created in the mind thinks that itself is the consciousness. And because of it, everything is illumined in the body. So if the sensory aspect of your tongue gets a taste of eating an ice cream, let's say, what happens? The mind has a desire, and it is fulfilled through the tongue. Now this eye goes there and says, I am eating an ice cream. It had got no reason to go there and become a part of that activity. I am eating an ice cream. Now if your mind is disturbed and it is angry, this I factor, because of that awareness which it is carrying, it goes there to the mind and says, I am angry. If your leg is paining, the leg is paining, but this I goes and says, my leg is paining. So everywhere this I travels, up and down, and it attaches itself to each and every aspect, and it says, I'm doing, I'm eating, I'm I'm in pain, I'm giving. All the bodily functions, mental functions, it involves itself tremendously, and it has completely enveloped. Now this is where the question comes, where the creator is saying, where are you? Where did you come from? I. Now I am giving, the creator says it is consciousness which is giving, enlivening all the parts of the body, but where did this I come? Then an analysis is done on, if this I, yes, it is there in the body. First, how did it come? And second, how can I snap this? I want to snap, meaning I want to chop it off. I don't want it in my life, because that is the main reason for all the troubles I'm facing in my life. So they analyze from three various angles. From the point of view of, let's say, mind, that is the ego factor is there. And when it comes in contact with the consciousness, what happens? It reflects. Consciousness is like the sun, and mind is a shiny object or a mirror. So no sooner a person goes in front of the mirror, what happens? The reflection of the person comes into the mirror. And is the reflection, is the person in the reflected mirror a true person or just an image? It is just an image. The true person cannot see himself. Now, as far as there is a mirror in front of a person, it is the nature of a mirror to reflect that object or person or whatever it is which is standing in front of it. So there they say the relationship is sahajam. As far as the mirror, the mind is there in front of the consciousness, the reflection is always there, and that is sahajam. Sahajam means casual. It's natural, sorry, not casual, natural. Now the same mind, we say when it is associated with the consciousness, it gets reflected in the entire body. There is a point of time when there is no mind in our entire three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. Is it going fine? Are you all getting the grasp of it? If it is too heavy, then I'll stop. I'm trying to explain in the most simplest manner. I just need your feedback, please. Okay, great. If anywhere, I'll keep this question, typo on. If anywhere anybody is getting a little doubt, just ask me that doubt so that I'll clarify right then and there, and you will not be able to miss on anything. See, it is, I know you all are intellectually strong, as I said. Only thing is you should not miss any point in between. And this is the crux of the whole Vedanta I'm telling you. If you understand this, you have won over. You have got the Atma Gnan. Otherwise, you will be only going round and round and round in circles. Okay. So now where are we? As far as there is a mirror, and anything which comes in front of the mirror, there is an image which is formed in the mirror. Okay. So what do you call this? It's natural. Understand one more point here. When we are in our deep sleep state, now we are awake. At one point of time, we go to bed, and as we hit the pillow and you fall asleep, what happens? You go to a dream state initially, and from the dream state, you slowly slip into a deep sleep state. Now, in a dream state, you have the mind, but not the body. The body is not a part of the dream state. Because in the dream, you have a different body altogether. You create your own world, you create your own body, and you travel the way you want, you behave the way you want. So in the dream state, you have only the mind. The body and the senses are absent. Now, as you slip into a deep sleep state, when you cross the rapid eye movement state, there's a REM moment, you go deep sleep. At that point, even your mind is not there. So body is not there, your mind is also not there, your senses are also not there. It's just that state of that pure consciousness. Now, is there a sense of ego? Ask yourself. I'm just corroborating the reflection part over there. Meaning, if there is no mind, there is no mirror. If there is no mirror, there is no reflection. We don't feel in a deep sleep state that we have done anything, because that ego aspect, the mind is not there in that state. But if it is a dream, you still, because the mind is there associated with the consciousness, the reflection is still happening, and you know everything of the dream, and you will want to understand also from some experts or somebody, what is the meaning of this dream? What derivations I can have for my life, beneficial derivations out of this dream. To that extent we go. So as in a deep state, there is no mind, hence there is no reflection of ego. So ego is completely not there, only in your deep sleep state. So the reflection, the first one they say, is between consciousness and as far as the mind is there, reflection is natural, sahajam. Now, next. What is the relationship of this ego with the body? So there the Upanishads tell us the relationship of the ego, aham, with the body is karmajam. Karmajam means till the time your prarabdha karma is there, the body will continue to function. The moment your prarabdha karma is over, the prana cease to operate, the body is dead, and the same with the mind. So the relationship between the ego and the body, it snaps over there at the time of death of the body. So that is karmajam. So till the time of the karma ending, this relationship between body and ego will be there. However old you may get, you will still have that egotic feeling. Have you not seen in fact, sometimes the ego sense is more strong in the old people also. They want control of everything. They can't even move their body, but they want control of the entire affairs. The relationship is strong with the body and the ego, and that snaps at the time of the death of the body. So it is karmajam. Now let's come to the next point. Then, what is the relationship between consciousness and the ego? Now, the whole body has been created by the Creator, and to enliven it, we have the consciousness. Consciousness is immortal, eternal, infinite, whereas the body, senses, mind, they're all mortal. They are subject to death one day. So there they say the relationship between the body, the aham and the consciousness is bhranti janyam, means it's an illusion. There is no relationship at all. If you see a leaf shaking in a tree, you look out of the window and you see there's one leaf shaking on a tree. What relationship you have got with that leaf shaking in the tree? It is just that. No relationship. If you see a dog barking outside on the road, what relationship you have got with that dog barking there? No relationship. Neither it has seen you, nor you have, it knows that you are seeing him. You are somewhere, it is about 200 meters away. You just saw that tree, you saw that dog, and it is barking. You have not done anything for it to bark or for that leaf to shake in that tree. So in the same way, consciousness and ego, they don't have any relationship. Now, how do you snap the ego from these three frontiers? In the first case, the reflection. So if there is no person coming in front of the mirror, as there is no reflection, same way, as far as the consciousness does not go in front of the mirror, meaning it has, because the mind is there in the body, so the reflection will happen till the end. So for that you can't do anything. It is sahajam, meaning it is natural. Just be with it. And second point, with the body, it is karmajam. So till the end of your life, ego is going to be with your body, whether you want it or you don't want it. But what we have under our control is the most vital point which we need to understand. The first two are not important for us. That's fine. Because to function in the world, we need to have the I factor. No? Otherwise, how will you deal or transact in the world? That is absolutely fine. But the feeling of I am doing it is which has spoiled our life and is coming and disrupting us by bringing us into the fold of the karmic cycle. So there, that can be destroyed by prabodham. Prabodham means by knowledge. And what is that knowledge? What we are now discussing. That it is only a reflection. It is one of the faculties of the mind which by the powers of Maya, Avarana and Vikshepa Shakti has been created by the Lord himself and sent along with this birth of the body. So I can understand by this knowledge that I am not the doer. God, as per the karmic cycle of this body and mind, all the activities are taking place. You don't get associated, go in between there and say, I am doing, I am eating, I am doing, I am taking. Everywhere that I. Distance yourself from every aspect of your body. Distance yourself from your mind. Distance yourself from your intellect. So, keeping this principle in mind, as we move forward, so finer and finer details will be taught by Lord Krishna. So there, as we are understanding, with this background, it will be much easier for you all to understand. Maybe you all listen to it a few more times on the recording, and if you all come with any doubts, I can clarify. But get this straight. So we have to know, as the involuntary functions are happening in our body, the same way the external functions also are happening in this body. As simple as, now I am talking and you all are listening. Okay? Here I am talking, meaning actually I am not talking. This body and mind created by the Creator with the consciousness as per the karmic cycle is talking. As simple as that. You have to apply the same way. Remove the word talking and make it listening. That's all. Don't have that I have made efforts to listen. I have made so much time to come and do all this. I did that, I did this. No, not you. It is your karmic cycle, your karmic account has made you do all this. So there you need not bring that I in between. Say it is God and God alone. Then you will not be bound by any karmic account. This is one of the greatest revelations of secrets by the scriptures, which the Lord has said. And we need to have this very clear in our mind to go forward in our lives. Have a smooth life. Now in the next 2-3 shlokas only you will be able to understand as to what will happen if we function in a way what Lord is telling us. See, this is a very a situation where God is showing His kindness profusely on us. He's saying you behave in this way and you will never have worry or trouble in your life. He'll explain. If we understand and adopt, be it any damn thing in your life. When I use the word damn, you can add furthermore adjectives to it. And you will never regret, you will never feel unhappy, you will never have a problem. Okay, Lataji says, basically we should think that everything that happens is predefined and I factor, that is the ego factor, has no role. I would say this way. What comes to you is as per your prarabdha karma. Okay, anything which is coming to you is your prarabdha karma. Subsequently, you put in that I said I am doing, I am eating, I am sleeping, I am giving, I am talking. There you should say that I am only an instrument in the hands of the Lord. I had given you all a prayer some time back that before doing any work, think that you're going to worship God. While doing the work, think that you're worshipping God. I am an instrument in the hands of the Lord. And after completing the work, offer it at the lotus feet of the Lord. Then karma will not bind you. I had given this prayer. So if you say that prayer, you're done. You don't come under the karmic cycle. And the double benefit is then the cleansing of your mind starts happening with this offering. So here, Lataji, what you have to understand is what comes to you is as per your prarabdha karma, and what you do out of that, there your I factor should not have any role. You got it? Okay. Now, how is this feeling? This I, sometimes like two trains are standing next to each other. We all have experienced this. You're sitting in one train, let's say your spouse or your kids or somebody have gone down to the platform to fetch something. Suddenly you see the train moving and you shout at them and say, come, 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 the train is moving. And that poor fellow, he runs from there and he comes towards the train. And then you realize that the neighboring train was moving and not your train. So this I functions on those lines. It is actually not doing anything, but it makes you feel that it is doing everything. It always comes in your mind. So we have to be watchful of that ego in our mind and give its place. Say you are not doing, God is doing. That's all. The Lord in me is doing all this. So there are various levels of surrender and various manners. We'll go one by one. Okay. Now we go to next verse. So now this 27 verse spoke about how an ignorant and also how the wise, how they both function. Now in this 28th verse, they talk about basically how illumined souls or souls with knowledge, how they perceive, that is explained over here. Let's understand this. Please repeat. Tattvavittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartante इति मत्वा न सज्जते. तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्म विभागयोः गुणा गुणेषु वर्तन्ते इति मत्वा न सज्जते. He says, "Oh, the mighty armed Arjuna, illumined people or the people with knowledge, they distinguish the soul, meaning the consciousness, and the gunas and the karmas separately. That they also understand that everything in them which is happening at the behest of the gunas as per the body, as per that person, because he has got all the tendencies which he has accumulated in his past lives. So these gunas, through the senses and the mind, they approach the objects of perception, meaning objects of enjoyment, and they are just a sakshi to it. They don't get entangled in it, meaning they feel that they are not doing all this. Now, as we saw, there are unrealized souls where they feel they are doing everything, isn't it? It is just the opposite over here. The other knowledgeable souls, they owe everything to the Lord. The first step is you talk about I am an instrument, because you can't suddenly detach yourself, no? So you say, yes, I am an instrument in your hands. Then eventually you merge with that consciousness as you understand this knowledge more and more deeply, as you do more of meditation and convince yourself that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the senses. You have become one with the consciousness, and along with the consciousness you become a pure witness to all the activities of this body, mind, senses. You no more get entangled in between. If anything is happening to the mind, it is happening to the mind. I am a witness to the mind. If anything happens to the body, it is happening to the body. I am a witness to the body, that's all. Earlier, what is our case? I am the body, so the pain, the pleasure, everything comes to you. And who is that you? Ahankara, the ego. If anything is happening to your mind, the sadness, the anger, the honor, the dishonor, everything is happening at the level of the mind, and you get associated and you say, I am angry, I am dishonored, I am honored. No. Such people, they distance themselves and say, I am just a witness. As you witness others in your life, you have to learn to witness your own self. This is the fine line gap, what one should understand. You look at yourself in the same way as you look at others. Now, somebody is in front of me, I'm seeing that person. That you don't need any special skill for that, isn't it? Because that person is different, I'm different. Now, where did this knowledge come from? You laugh, you say, what, this is knowledge or what? Anybody has to teach me? That person is different and I'm different. I don't need any coaching or training or understanding for this. But what you need special coaching or special training or special understanding is to understand that you are not yourself. You are the pure witness, and the ego body mind complex is different from you as the pure witness. So don't become the ego of your own body and mind. Become the witness of the ego, body, mind complex altogether. Okay, we'll go in much more detail on this tomorrow, how an illumined soul would operate in the world. Ahankara Vimud Atma was the one who had the ego and who has wrongly understood about himself in the previous verse that we understood. And now Tattvavita. Tattvavita means, Tattva means this supreme truth. Vita means who has known or understood. A person who has understood this supreme truth, which is told by God and God alone, how he would look at his life. We'll understand this. And in the subsequent verses, Lord will tell us how you have to work in the world and snap yourself from the karmic account and slowly start getting out of this mess. Whatever be the amount of wrongdoing, sins, all committed before, that doesn't matter. He's going to burn the entire thing off. And only those rare privileged souls who have the option for this scenario, they have been invited to listen to this, practice this, and evolve. There will be so many people who want to study, who want to understand, but they lose track on the way. So only thing what we need is steadfastness. Here and there you may feel a little heavy, you may feel you're not getting it, this, that. Don't worry. See, the advantage is we know each other and we are accessible. That is the greatest advantage why you can have. Otherwise, normally what happens is when you go to a large gathering and you listen to this knowledge, or even if you may listen it on the net or here and there, but there you don't have an opportunity to clear your doubts and move forward. And this needs to clarify doubts at every stage to move on this track. So make use of that. Okay. Please make yourself comfortable. So now the Panchakosha Viveka Dhyana, the modification what we have done is, the moment we say I, so you will be confused with this point of eventually when you say I am that consciousness, that becomes a little hard to digest. But I think after this knowledge it will become much easier. So till then we will see which is the higher reality. And the three aspects for comparing which is higher than what is, it should not be subject to change. It should be the same always. And second is, does it have its own source of power? And the third one is, it should be immortal, meaning there should be no death. So under these three parameters, we examine each and every layer of our body, which we call in Sanskrit kosha, and we say, yes, this is a false entity. That's how we are going to tell our mind, because all these years and life's innumerable, we have made ourselves so attached to our body and mind. So now here we are telling our own self that although it is a part of me, but you are different and I am different. I am witnessing you as a body and mind. I am not the body and mind. This is what we need to get. So right from the beginning we have started this exercise, and I hope by now, like it's almost 47 classes, meaning that we must have had a great advantage of this meditation. Okay. Let's start. Please sit straight, head, neck and spine in a straight line, erect but not stiff. Keep your body completely relaxed. Release the pressure on your face and in your forehead. Expand your forehead and face and feel the difference. Both your eyelids closed, one above the other, as though two petals are sitting one above the other. Wear a smile on your face. Let's take a few deep, equal breaths, inhalation and exhalation. Now your body, mind is completely relaxed. We start the Panchakosha Viveka meditation. We falsify each and every layer of the body one by one. Clench your fist and release. This is the body. From the time it is born till date, it has changed so rapidly which is hard to believe for your own self. This body does not have its own source of energy. This body is subject to death one day. When your karmic account comes to an end with this body, the body ceases to exist. body is an illusory, false entity, Anatma. Let's go deeper. The Pranamaya Kosha, the vital air seeds. This is a part of the subtle body, Sukshma Sharir. It changes several times in a day. Does not have its own source of energy. And stops functioning at the end of the karmic account of the soul. Pranamaya Kosha also is an illusory, false state of a person. Which is there for some time and will not be there after some time. Let's go deeper. Manomaya Kosha, the mind. The mind is a part of the subtle body. It changes very rapidly. Mind does not have its own source of energy. And it ceases to operate on the death of this body. Manomaya kosha is also a form's illusory state. Anatma. Let's go deeper. The intellect, Vijnanamaya kosha. This too is a part of this Sukshma Sharir, the subtle body. Changes from time to time. Does not have its own source of energy. And subject to death, along with the body, the prana, the mind. This is also Anatma. Let's go a little more deeper. Now I come to a state of blankness. A feeling of bliss. A state of ignorance. With no thoughts. Anandamaya kosha. This state is experienced on a daily basis. During our deep sleep state. And on waking up or slipping into a dream state, the bliss experienced in this state is lost. This too comes and goes. As like in the other koshas, this too does not have its own source of energy. This Anandamaya kosha is the one and only part of the causal body and travels along with the subtle body. On the death of this jiva. So this too is a false, illusory entity. Anatma. Then which is the supreme most? What is that? That consciousness we all are experiencing right now. Which is changeless. Which is self-luminous. And which is immortal. It is this consciousness which has been present all the time, right from the birth of this jiva. Although your body has changed dramatically right from the childhood till date, your identity and personification of being that individual as a child, as a baby, as in your youth, and your middle age. This is one factor which was present all the time. Similarly, in all your three states of waking, dream and deep sleep. This is one common factor which is a witness to all these three states. This is that consciousness which enlivens your body, prana, mind, intellect, and the bliss. This consciousness is the truth and reality, the ultimate reality, the suprememost reality, and rest are all false, illusory, and temporary. Be established in this truth. And change your default setting from the wrong understanding that you are the body, the mind, and the intellect. And realize that this consciousness in you is the suprememost truth. And become one with this consciousness. Realizing this aspect is known as self-realization. Now slowly rub your palms, place them on your eyes, and gently and lovingly open your eyes. If anybody has some questions, please post them on WhatsApp. We can take it up tomorrow. Let's conclude. Oh. पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति